Hi, my name is Stacy Oddie. I'm the Executive Director of the Catalina Island Museum, and we're here at the museum, which is on the ground floor of the historic casino building. We were founded by community folks in 1953 who were very concerned about the preservation of our local heritage. And we've always been here in the casino doing that work and that job of collecting artifacts, preserving them, and then sharing them with the community. The island receives almost 1 million visitors a year, so we really want to make sure they get exposed to the cultural heritage of the island as well as, of course, the natural environment around us every day. We cover everything from the Native Americans who lived here over 7,000 years ago to virtually present day. And right here, we're in the surroundings of our steamship exhibit. And the steamships, as you can imagine, were a very important part of our local history. Being on an island, you have to wonder how people got here, and for almost 100 years, steamships was the main mode of transportation for folks. The two that most people remember are the Avalon and the Catalina, which they call the Great White Steamer, and they ran from the 20s up through 1975 was when the Catalina finally left. And there was a lot of wonderful culture around the ships as well. People loved the trip over here, seeing dolphins and whales and flying fish. There were big bands on the boats, and people danced all the way over here. People are excited to discover the Hollywood history that we have here over on the island. Catalina was used as Hollywood's backlot since the very early 1900s, and the early directors like D.W. Griffith and Cecil B. DeMille were over here frequently shooting all kinds of movies. Literally hundreds of movies were done over here, from early classics like The Ten Commandments, Ben-Hur, Mutiny on the Bounty, and it's still very much used today by Hollywood. We were a near location that could be made to look like all kinds of different locations and islands, and we could be tropical or desert or Mediterranean. So they were over here quite a lot, and people really enjoyed seeing the celebrities too when they were over here visiting during film shoots. Another exciting aspect of Catalina's history that people enjoy discovering is that the Chicago Cubs did spring training over here for about 30 years, from 1921 through 51. And the reason that happened was because William Wrigley Jr. happened to own both Catalina and the Cubs during that time period. And he was a smart marketer and an entrepreneur, and he decided to marry both of his passions and made sure that the Cubs did their spring training out here on the island, which of course brought a lot of media over here on the island while they were here doing their training. And a fun little story along with that is that Ronald Reagan got his discovery in Hollywood when he was out here actually doing radio broadcasting for a Cubs training. And when he had just a little bit of downtime, he slipped over on one of the steamers, did a little screen test, and when he got back home to the Midwest, got that phone call saying, "We want you to come out to Hollywood," and there started his career. An important aspect of Catalina's history is that the birth of sport fishing happened here on Catalina. It was largely thanks to Dr. Charles Frederick Holder, who came out here in the 1890s and realized that already at that time period, really our oceans around the island were being devastated and overfished. Huge schools of tuna used to go by the island, and at that point, tuna was considered a trash fish, and hundreds of these fish would be pulled out and slaughtered and not even eaten. And he thankfully pointed out the wastefulness of that and created a concept of what you know now today as sport fishing, and that's giving the fish a fighting chance. And he helped found the Tuna Club, and that became their motto for sport fishing. And the idea was to try and capture the heaviest weight fish that you can on the lightest line possible. So you were really giving that fish a fighting chance to get away. And of course, that has really helped over the years reduce the amount of overfishing around Catalina. All kinds of species are found here. Our waters get deep really fast, and we have things like black sea bass, which grow to gigantic sizes. We have a really fun photo in 1901 taken of a woman who's obviously wearing probably a wool dress and a corset, and somehow she managed to catch a 416-pound black sea bass. So I find that pretty impressive and love to point out that women were right out there in the early days fishing too. Zane Grey, well-known Western author, actually had a home here on the island, which is now a hotel, the Zane Grey Pueblo Hotel. And he wrote books while he was out here, and he was also, of course, very involved in sport fishing, wrote books about sport fishing on the island and the other Channel Islands, and we have a fantastic photo of him with a sunfish that's enormous and something like over 1,200 pounds.